when it comes to whether or not I believe I should be in prison, I believe that I should have been punished for committing murder. Do I believe that I should still be here 40 years later? It'd be real easy for me to say no. But on the other hand, if I looked at it from the point of view of the victim's family, yeah, I should be here. I've never really spoken about the fears that I have about getting older.
It's sedentary lifestyle. You know, the problem here is you don't have any real choice in terms of foods, dietary choices, things like that. You know, it's what the state provides.
Old school getting his workout on. Trying to stay fit and healthy.
My name is David, and I've been in prison for 40 years.
When I first come to prison, 1986 at the Missouri State Penitentiary in Jefferson City, it was like fun.
Bro said prison was fun.
Getting to the point where it's harder to walk, it's harder to breathe. And the ultimate fear of, you know, when am I going to leave the planet?
Hey, real quick before we continue, man, that's a common thing you always hear old convicts say. Old convicts, and I think it's elderly people in general, they always talk about how it used to be. And I do think it's a fact because doing 12 years in prison, I myself saw how prison was getting worse and worse and worse. Not only when it comes to like the violence and the chaos in prison, but especially the freedoms in which I experienced early on in the beginning of my bid to later on towards the end, at the end of the 12 years. So you always hear from old convicts about how loose and how open and how wide and how much freedom and how many programs and things like that they had back in the day, in which the old convicts always say, man, like prison was just like a college campus and everybody was partying and hanging out. Of course, there was violence and gang wars, still those things going on. But they always talk about how it was better back in the day. So that's something you hear all the time.
Basically, the first probably 15, 20 years, I didn't have a care in the world.
Bro said he didn't have a care in the world his first 20 years. That's crazy.
There were no checks and balances, really, when I came to prison. You could pretty much get away with anything. As long as you weren't making a problem for the COs, they didn't make a problem for you.
See what I'm talking about?
You know, normally you would assume, right, if you get locked up, right, you lose your freedom, but there are freedoms in prison. There were programs, but I definitely wasn't ready for a program. I was full-blown in my addiction, and that was probably the most time-consuming thing that I did. Go find something to get high on.
How was your health? Kendra, a little cold.
I always do.
We wanted up in the 90s. If it's in the 80s, then that means it's too low and you're not getting enough oxygen.
After about 20 years, I finally got to the point where I pretty much just quit getting high, started trying to make some changes in my life. But I've always struggled with depression, addiction, and anger. That combination is pretty lethal in prison. He was recommending a bypass.
Right. He can recommend, but if the surgeon says, I'm not going to do it,
Right.
it's not in your best interest, and the surgeon trumps.
But if the medication ain't working and I'm still getting the same amount of pain, now it's getting to a point where I'm having a problem walking for any length of the distance.
Okay, so it's getting worse, is what you're telling me?
Yeah. The first 2 years of my life, my mother was in a mental hospital. She was suffering from schizophrenia and was being treated, and I lived with my grandparents in New York City until she was released. It was just a normal childhood except for the violence. It was in the home. At times, my mother was normal, and at times, she was in the clutches of schizophrenia. When I was 8, my mother hung me.
Dang.
Asked me to come in the bathroom and tied a sash around my neck and around the shower rod and pushed me off the side of the tub. And my sister, who was 15 at the time, walked by and found me.
Dang, bro. That's sad, man. Old school said when he was 8, his mother hung him in the bathroom, bro. Man, that's gotta be traumatizing, bro. That's sad, man.
And all this time, when my mother committed suicide, I'd made up my mind that there was no such thing as God. And if there was, then he's at war with me because he took the one thing that I loved away from me. And all the anger that I'd had in him became so compounded that as far as I'm concerned, he was to blame. In 1985, I was charged with first-degree murder. The day that I committed murder, I was angry all day long. I was plotting revenge all day long. And was working for a guy in Kansas City that had a lawn service. Had a disagreement. Went to a bar that night and got drunk. Went back to his house, walked in his house. He was asleep in bed and walked up to him and shot him and killed him.
Dang,
the first thing that they asked for was the death penalty. And eventually I pled guilty first-degree murder and was sentenced to life without parole.
Jeez, bro. It's crazy sometimes when you hear like people's cases and like, man, like just how minimal that situation was. Just a disagreement at work. And this man, you know, because it's psychological and mental health and his anger issues, he's plotting revenge all day and goes back at night and unalives him, bro. That's crazy. Real 2 quick questions for the viewers. Number 1, I'm assuming he's Jewish or even like a Messianic Jew. He's wearing, you know, the hat and he's got the long beard and he's got like the hair on the sides. Do you think, yeah, he's got to shave his head, right? And only keep those 2 parts right there? Because I'm sure it doesn't just naturally grow like that. So I guess that's question number 1, but I think it's pretty obvious. My bad for the dumb question. And then the main question, man, for the viewers, any of you viewers watching this, have y'all done any time in the Missouri prison system? And if so, I believe this is specifically Missouri State Prison. Tell me how that prison is, put it in the comments, and I'll do a reaction video to that prison specifically.
My conventional wisdom when it comes to whether or not I believe I should be in prison, I believe that I should have been punished for committing murder. Do I believe that I should still be here 40 years later? It'd be real easy for me to say no. But on the other hand, if I looked at it from the point of view of the victim's family, yeah, I should be here.
Dang, that's maturity.
When I came to prison, I was 35 years old. And now I'm 75. And 40 years ago, I was an entirely different human being. I'm entirely a different person now. I don't think the same way. I don't even believe the same things any longer. Now, I 100% believe that everybody has a right to exist. 2018, I lost my last surviving sibling, my sister. And if I could have found a drug to take me out of this situation, I would have left the planet gladly. Didn't. Wound up getting high on K2, went to the hole. In the process of being in the hole, I pretty much reconnected with God, who I'd kicked out the car 60 years ago. The peace that I have in this reality of prison is the faith that I have in God. I'm like, hey, whatever happens, happens. You know, I've been blessed. I accept whatever he decides.
That's real.
And amazingly, while some of the acquaintances that I've known over the years died of hepatitis C and liver disease and cirrhosis from all the drugs, I kept on ticking. The greatest gift that he gave me is the ability to smile at somebody and disarm them. I'd be like, hey, what's up? Peace. No drama.
That's real.
And I'm like, wow, why couldn't I learn that 50 years ago?
Old school
and all
with
these
the
lessons
wisdom.
that I'm learning now are all the lessons that parents teach their kids. I just didn't get it. That's the one thing I don't like about being old, is that it took me so long to figure this out. I'm like, man, come on, really? Man, what a slow learner. That's the ultimate.
How's the morning been for you?
Woke up, that's 90% of it. I've been incarcerated since I was 35 years old, and now I'm on my 40th year. Been a minute.
All right, y'all, we're going to go ahead and stop it right here, man. Great documentary, bro. Great documentary. Shout out to the creators who made this. I just want to go ahead and close this reaction video with two thoughts. Number one, throughout all my 12 years of my experience in prison, 80% of the elderly people that I would say are incarcerated, maybe a little bit less, maybe 70, but I don't know, maybe 80, man, normally have sex offenses like, child, charges, those type of charges, things like that. And normally the other like maybe 20% of the elderly guys are guys like him, just old school convicts who've been sentenced to life in prison and they just been in the system forever. You know what I mean? So the reason why I say that is because sadly, a lot of the times the elderly guys in prison kind of get treated like trash. You know what I mean? Because a convict's normally like immediate thought and prejudgment when they see like an elderly guy in prison, their immediate thought is a bad charge. You know what I mean? But you can kind of sometimes easily tell the difference between the elderly people who have those charges and those who don't, because a lot of times the old school convicts who don't have those type of charges and who just been in prison forever, like this guy, normally you'll see like some younger guys like taking care of them, old school, and everybody's super friendly and polite to them. But the other elderly guys who have those type of negative charges, people just like avoid them. You know what I mean? But a lot of times you see like old school convicts like this, they'll be like, guys looking out for them. Like, old school, man, you hungry? You need some coffee? Or they'll be pushing them in the wheelchair, making sure they're all right. And even if they get sick, people be taking care of them, man. I remember there's an old man who slept next to me in one of my dorms. He actually died, bro, during COVID. It was crazy because he got sick in COVID. I remember when they took him out the dorm and he just never came back, bro. He died. But yeah, he was one of those guys. He was like in his mid 50s. He wasn't too old, but he had, I think, suffered a few strokes. So he aged super fast. He could barely talk. He could barely walk. And a lot of guys in the dorm took care of him, especially guys from his hometown, because he was in there for like, selling dope or something like that. So normally it's kind of easily to tell apart, who has those charges, who don't. So that's just kind of this random thought about elderly people in prison. But then lastly, I'll close with this thought, man. How do you feel about people like Old School right here who committed a serious charge, way back in the 80s, 70s, first degree murder, and been sentenced to life without parole? 40 years later, seeing rehabilitation, seeing change, seeing maturity, do you feel and do you think that people like this man right here, Old School, deserve another opportunity in society to be released? Do you think that they should be able to have an opportunity for parole? Me personally, I think yes. I think life without parole should be done away with. I think the death sentence should be done away with because, once again, as I say all the time, bro, sometimes it takes our lowest point in life, for us to really come to terms with the crap that we're dealing with. Number one, commit our lives to Christ Jesus by faith. But man, we can truly change and be rehabilitated and mature and heal and grow in prison. And those type of people, we're like us convicts, we're like really the most valuable assets to reach the streets, to reach people who are still living that lifestyle of crime, to be an example and a motivation of inspiration and influence to help them change, to help them find a way out. You know what I mean? So once again, bro, this is a reminder for all the convicts watching, man. I encourage you, however you can, get involved in prison ministry, reentry, transitional housing programs that we can continue to empower and help the incarcerated population while they're still doing their time and help them transition home back successfully. Man, so listen, it's your boy E.I. the King. This is the Incarceration Podcast. And listen, I have a fire HBO style series, a chronological journey overviewing my 12 years in prison. It's on my full episode playlist. It's called The Incarceration, but I'm releasing the second season. But to access it, you have to become an all access member to this channel. Go ahead and check out a preview of this clip right here. I'm the only one going into K3 out of everybody. I'm just thinking to myself, man, they don't even care. They do not care. I'm about to enter the dungeon. There's about 3 or 4 of us standing in the sally port. They just called our names while we were standing in the orientation dorm, everybody being assigned to their permanent housing on the pound. We're not officially new cocks anymore. We're about to hit the pound. And listen, if you didn't know, I am a rapper. My artist name is E.I. the King. You can find my music wherever you listen to your music at. Go to my other YouTube channel, my artist channel, E.I. the King. Check out my music videos. Follow me on Instagram, E.I. the King, TikTok, E.I. the King. Follow my Twitch channel, E.I. the King Gaming. And y'all stay locked in for some more fire content. And listen, if you have not subscribed, man, please do so. I appreciate all the day one viewers in the chat. And y'all let me know in the comments, man, what reaction video I should do of what prison or what topic next. I'm out. Peace.